Hi, I'm Nan Simonson, and I'm so glad you're here. I am doing currently a series of what I'm calling PowerPoints, points of interest relating to lifestyle as medicine. And I've been following, this is my book, Aging Powerfully, this acronym, Powerfully. Last week, we were at L&L, Love and Laughter, which I put into one presentation, but there was more I wanted to say about love. And so I'm back and I'm calling this part two. The fun thing, though, is that what inspired me to take this further, because there's so much about it we don't know. And you're going to see what I mean about that, is this book, Love 2.0. It was written by Dr. Barbara Fredrickson. It's Love 2.0, Creating Happiness and Health in Moments of Connection. And I have been doing a deeper dive than just the pillars of health that I was taught when I joined as an affiliate member, the College of Lifestyle Medicine, and the practice of Dr. Wayne Dysinger here in Riverside, California. Dr. Dysinger has a medical practice, family medicine, called Lifestyle Medical, and he founded it and is also one of the founding members of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. He was their third president. So I've had nearly 5 years of training with, well, of experience as a health coach with Dr. Dysinger's practice and as a whole food plant-based advocate. So anything you see me do or say has that in the background, that whole food plant-based aspect of the pillars of health, which are actually outlined as the recommendation for nutrition by the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. So let me tell you more about that statement. I've been doing a deeper dive than just the pillars. I have found that, and I believe, and it's been shown, that we can, and those pillars are, well, let me finish that sentence. We can do everything, I'll say on the surface as it relates to the pillars of health. That is, eat a whole food plant-based diet. That is, in terms of another pillar, movement, move daily, a half an hour to 45 minutes of strong enough movement to get our heart going. It's a cliche, but it's true. If you don't move it, you'll lose it. And it's simply, our body relies on movement to even know where it is in space. Community is important. Our relationship with other people, connection, and this is where the Love 2.0 can be hooked on, but taken further. And then also sleep and stress management are part of a pillar, as well as avoiding risky substances. Well, I've been looking further at ways that people can ameliorate stress and the value of that, but also as it relates to connection. When I do my weekly support groups with with Lifestyle Medical, when we do check-in, we check in on those four main pillars, and that is sleep and stress management, movement, community, and food. And whole food plant-based is what we are striving for most for overall health. Well, there's also something beyond that we don't understand, and it's something that I've learned from this book. And Dr. Fredrickson is a distinguished professor of psychology, as well as the director of the Positive Emotions and Psychophysical Collegiate Laboratory at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She's a well-respected scientist, and she studies what? Emotions. And she wrote the book, Love 2.0, to make a point that we can redefine love, define it in a way that is different than what she describes as bonding, because most of us think of love as bonding. If I love you, I'm bonded to you in a way, whether you're part of my family or a sibling, a parent, a dear friend, a spouse, a partner. That's a bonding. We are in love with that person, but she looks at love beyond that, calls that a bonding, realizes that physiologically, because this is what's studied, that reality doesn't improve our body on a daily basis. What improves our body on a daily basis, moment to moment, are micro moments of positive resonance. That's a mouthful, and I'm going to describe that. And that's the part that's Love 2.0. And the good news here, and I know this is all vague, but I'll get to it because I took a lot of notes from her book. I bought her book. I have listened to it on audio twice. I am enamored of her proposition. And actually, it's more than proposition, it's proof through laboratory tests of what the physiological response of love is and what love is as it relates to our body's understanding. So I'm going to read this. I'm going to read my notes rather than trying to come up with her words properly. But let me take you back to one of her first premises, and that is that ancestrally, we needed to bond with people. Those who did not have bonds, we were all tribal, those who did not have bonds, strong enough to keep us protected, didn't survive. And so these bonds were necessary for survival. But during safe moments of connection, biochemical changes, and I'm reading this, that reshape the lenses through which others are seen, increases their allure. The more of these micro moments of positivity resonance, the more that we are open to bonding. So that's what she defines in Love 2.0 as love. Micro moments of positivity resonance. Those micro moments are what actually cause physiological changes in our body and our brain and our gut. In other words, throughout our body, and we'll talk about that. That'll be better understood when I do a brief description of the vagus nerve. Those changes are what feed us in almost as if they are food, feed our brain and our body, and can do that not just when we're in close connection with that love of our life, that family member, whatever, but anybody. And that's what's so powerfully positive about her message, that we can create these micro moments of positivity resonance throughout our day. And all of those, and again, this has been tested in her laboratory. It's interesting to read her book or listen to it because they test scientifically things that we just muse about or maybe don't even consider. So here I go with my notes. Love is an emotion, a positive emotion, actually a momentary moment of positivity. From our body's perspective, it is these moments of shared positive resonance that she terms micro moments of positivity resonance, and this is how she describes love that affects us at a biological level. By the way, I looked up resonance, and one of the definitions is a synchronous vibration of neighboring objects. And you're going to hear how that actually takes place physiologically. As it relates to our physiology, the attachment and relationship that we call love are really ancestrally bonds. Love scientifically is different. These amounts of shared positivity resonances are fleeting and can be multiple and can come and go very quickly. The magic is in recognizing the abundance of opportunities for positivity, resonance, and seeking it out as a way to constantly enrich our lives. This definition offers us a fresh set of lenses through which we can see our world and the possibilities for connections and the power that we can have with people we know, strangers that we spend just a few minutes with, and even passers-by that we simply exchange a glance and a hello. Love springs up anytime two or more people connect over a positive emotion. This is different than the constant steady force of what we call love in a relationship, but something that is fed anytime and nearly constantly with moments of shared positivity resonance. It is something that we can recultivate on an ongoing basis. The more, the better. Due to the mechanism of mirror neurons in the brain, which have been discovered and proven, it's been found that we come into play, or that mirror neurons come into play as it relates to love. During one-on-one connection, even micro moments of connectivity, these mirror neurons in our brain fire to create synchronicity. These light up when we take an action and or see someone else take an action. Brain science has shown mirror neurons in our brain cause a coupling of brains that goes beyond emotion. These neural couplings can even predict how well people understand each other. Her examples of this, and I'm just giving you, I mean, these are cliff notes. These are less than cliff notes. These are just highlights to make a point, because all of this is described in depth, even with her relating the scientifically orchestrated testing of what was once a hypothesis and then becomes a reality. And she was using in this example the truism that when people are connecting, they tend to even mirror each other's voice tonality, the speed with which we talk, quite often the movements that we have as we're speaking, the way we're standing, the way we're leaning in or leaning away from each other. In other words, people who are connecting mirror each other. Well, this begins in the brain with mirror neurons. And the point that I just made is that they can be a reality, or they can be in other words, a reality in our own behavior, or they can be our watching somebody else do that thing. And we can feel that connection. In Love 2.0, Dr. Fredrickson describes love's biology. Scientifically speaking, love is a verb, not a noun. It comes and it goes, and it's dependent on three main biological characters: our brain, oxytocin, so 1, our brain, 2, oxytocin, and 3, the vagus nerve. In the brain, micro moments of positive connection lead to a firing in our brain. 2 or more brains in synchronicity can lead to feeling something, understanding, and mutual care. In other words, feeling something, a connection, micro understanding or understanding of each other at any given level, and mutual care. But put very simply, the results of this feed our brain and our nervous system. The important point here is that this simply comes about through connection, not strong bonds that we consider traditionally as love. Micro moments of connection create feelings of love physiologically. Oxytocin is labeled by some as a cuddle hormone. So in other words, we begin with the brain, and the brain's mirror neurons connecting in some way with other people. Then we have oxytocin. It's labeled as the cuddle hormone, not just because it's felt in the brain, but it's also felt in the body. It's long been known to be a hormone that relates to bonding, which can be observed in animals. And this, she talks about tests that were made, that when oxytocin is dripped in the brains, create bonding. And if it's in their nature of that animal, bonding for life. In humans, oxytocin is especially strong during sexual intercourse and in mothers of newborns. It creates a psychological imperative to bond. It's been proven, further proven, to even shape our social life. It helps us feel connected and trusting with others, although it won't override logic and caution. This is created through our words, through eye contact, through friendly gestures. Oxytocin is also raised in us when we behave kindly, which can explain the value of loving kindness meditation. And then there's the vagus nerve. So we've got the brain, we have oxytocin that comes into play. Although there are other neurotransmitters, there is serotonin, which we produce as a calming hormone, and that would be part of it. There's dopamine, the reward hormone, the reward of connectivity, but nothing explains any of this as well as oxytocin, which is, again, a bonding hormone. And the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve that runs from the brain to the heart, down to other organs, including our gastrointestinal tract, which is why it is so much a part of what we promote when we are talking about the microbiome and the effects of our vagus nerve, what we're thinking affecting our digestion, and our ability to create our neurotransmitters, 70% of which are produced in our microbiome, meaning and our colon. From our brain to oxytocin to the rest of the body, and especially our heart. The vagus nerve influences our facial muscles when we're talking to people, and in our inner ear, that allows us to pick up subtle cues, increasing the odds that 2 or more people will connect. Now, all of this is under the surface. We're not aware of any of it. Scientists can measure our vagal tone, your biological aptitude for love. Now, the vagal tone has a lot to do with all kinds of ramifications of health in our body. The vagal tone is a relationship between our heart rate and our breathing, and it's measured usually with those 2 parameters. What we want to have good vagal tone means that we have variability, a greater amount of variability in the vagus nerve, rather than, it's called heart rate variability. We want lots of heart rate variability. It makes us more adaptable to events in our lives, but that's a whole other thing. Okay, let me get back to that. Scientists can measure your vagal tone, your biological aptitude for love, because in this book, that's what she's talking about, by measuring heart rate and breathing, which are exquisitely connected. Breathing in increases heart rate, breathing out lowers it. And she talks again in the book about the importance of both of those. When you breathe in and you increase your heart rate, you're oxygenating your blood. When you're trying to calm down and you breathe out, you're allowing yourself to be calm, which is helpful for your a number of body responses, including digestion. And we can affect those things, and I'll tell you how, and a little more about the vagus nerve. Scientists, we've already talked about that. It was once believed that vagal tone was steady for life. However, scientists have proven that it can increase, therefore improve your vagal tone, which can be achieved by certain acts like frequent positivity resonance, and by even when we sharing, for example, increases vagal tone because it has certain physiological effects on the body. And one way that she measured that was using I'm sorry. Oh, man. Let me see if I wrote it down. There's much more than that. Well, I'm going to repeat it because I've written it somewhere else in here too. But in any case, when we're doing meditation, especially meditation for the kindness of others, for the health of others, loving kindness meditation, and that was what I was looking for. She did a series of tests using loving kindness meditation, and the evaluated people who did it over a period of time and saw that those who practice loving kindness meditation actually increase their vagus tone, or their vagal tone, which is really interesting. And that's where she came up with her conclusion that sharing can make a difference in our vagal tone. In her PEP lab, which is her positive emotions and physiology lab, Dr. Fredrickson proved that loving kindness meditation increases vagal tone, and she even shared this later when scientists convened with the 14th Dalai Lama to explain the power of meditation on physiology. And her lab was able to prove something that up to that point had been conjecture. These reactions and benefits are largely beneath our awareness and yet shine a light on most of our activities. This is not speculation. It's proven neuroscience, measurable and documented. Dr. Fredrickson shares this, and again, additional information to explain it all in her book, Love 2.0. Through love, you become a better version of yourself. And while doing that, experience love more readily. Love, or life-giving upward spirals are born this way. We can self-generate more love in our life, and therefore continue to improve our vagal tone and our enjoyment of life in general. And in this way, love begets love. In addition, oxytocin makes us calmer, friendlier, and more open to others. This also increases our ability to create positivity resonance, love beginning love. And positivity resonance with with repetition strengthens neural connections in the brain and makes the amygdala more sensitive to the calming effects of oxytocin. Lack of love compromises our immunity and our health. That's why connection is one of the pillars of lifestyle medicine. The good news here is that love can be found daily throughout the day in many ways. Therefore, you have more control over your biology than you realized, and have tools to affect it at our fingertips. Through this means, we orchestrate the behavior of our cells. We simply, or put simply, our bodies are designed to love. It's written in our DNA. Everyday moments of positivity resonance add up and transform our bodies and therefore our lives. So what does this look like? This looks like, again, moments of positivity connection. I'm at the store, and I always begin this way when I check in and I do anything. It doesn't matter if I'm at the bank or at my nearby Trader Joe's, or any kind of a transaction. I almost always begin with, hello, how are you? And sometimes there's a conversation that goes on, and these minor connections, these exchanges out of kindness, concern, sharing, warmth. Again, our brains, our mirror neurons are firing up. These moments, these tiny moments, if they're positive, and we're doing them one-on-one, which is much stronger than any other way, are exactly what she's talking about and calls love. That love affects our brain, our physiology, our microbiome, our health, and our immunity. And again, she goes into a lot more than this and how that happens. So you stop and you think of your opportunities for micro moments of positivity resonance. I think of my days. This morning, I was out on my bike on a path around a park that I usually take. There were no less than 15 people that I looked eye to eye with and said good morning, many of whom I see a lot as I go around the park. One person said something that I had to stop and stop my, because I'm always listening to a podcast, stop the podcast. And we had a brief conversation. It was somebody that knows that I have a book and was wondering where she could get several copies to give somebody. And well, that was nice. But even those very brief hellos, how are you? Or just hello, or, oh, I had it. Okay, I'm going to tell you the story. There is a woman who walks around the park. She's always there. She seldom looks anybody in the eye. She walks with her arms very, very straight, her face rather expressionless. I say good morning to her every morning. And she may say something, I think, because she moves her lips, but it's hard to hear whether I was running by her, walking by her, or cycling by her. I've never had a real word from her. I believe she's autistic. I see several signs of that, including no eye contact at all. And yet she goes around and around and around on the park today. And I love hand gestures. The open hand gesture, by the way, means not only hello, but I'm open, I'm friendly. It's hello. And this morning, you know, I'm riding my bike and I always say it in the same way to everybody, hi, or good morning. And I went by her and I said, good morning. And she did this. She's never done anything like that. And it's been several years. And that was a huge moment of positivity resonance. And I didn't know, I couldn't feel that it was flooding my body with oxytocin and vagal tone improvement. But that's what we're talking about. And you can have moments like that, moments of kindness, moments of resonance, moments of positivity with people all day long. You can go out of your way to connect with people because you want to enrich your life and enrich theirs. And now you know that it's not simply enjoyable, and it is, it's highly enjoyable. I knew nothing about this, and I've been doing that for a long, long time. But now I know what the mechanism behind it is, the feel-good chemicals, what it does maybe for them. I know what it does for me. And it makes me want to do it even more. And you can go through your days feeling powerful, the way love would make you feel on its best days. You can feel off and on all day. I think that's all I want to say. I will add that this is a book worth reading, but more importantly, just studying. This, she talks about the value of loving kindness meditation. Well, what I took from that is this book cured Jeffrey Riddiger, MD, cardiologist, who wrote a book about what emotions can do to cure people. He recommends meditation. She recommends meditation. His meditation can be just a repetition of words. Her meditation, as she teaches it, is loving kindness meditation. So I've put those two recommendations together, and I do a meditation similar to his, but with the words of loving kindness. I'm not speaking well today. Meditation. And I just feel the joy of that. And there's another book that I'm listening to on Audible, and the book isn't due here until the 28th of August. This is the 16th of August, and it's Dr. Candace Pert's book, The Molecules of Emotion. She wrote that book, was it 2013? And she is also a PhD who studied, actually, she's the person I spoke about last week that should have gotten the Nobel Prize for discovering the receptors, for the opioid receptors in our brain. She discovered this. She discovered it as a postdoc in somebody's lab, and the fellow whose lab she was in turned in the paper and got credit for that discovery. Isn't that interesting? And she fought it, and she made it known that she wasn't going to stand by and watch this. It was all very interesting. But in any case, the value, and I had to write that down because I don't have her book to show you, but it's Candace Pert, The Emotions, or The Molecules of Emotion, saying the same thing, but in a different, not different, but in an additional way, physiologically, that every cell in our body has peptides, or has receptors for ligands, many of which are peptides. Those peptides are created from the amygdala in our brain and the hypothalamus that creates the peptides from the emotions that are generated from the amygdala and the hypothalamus, and become these peptides that dock on our cells, and those cells become I'll say receptors of that particular emotion, be it negative or be it positive. So even with that information, we see the value of keeping our emotions positive and strong, which we can do by what? Love 2.0. All of it ties together. Do you see what I mean when I said I wanted to do a deeper dive in those pillars of lifestyle medicine? Because all of that, the full premise, the full belief, the full understanding is that through lifestyle as medicine, and this is lifestyle, I'm putting my hands on my little pile of books, we can affect our health, our longevity, and our enjoyment of life on a daily basis. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love to hear from you about your experiences and your micro moments of positivity resonance, what that looks like for you. And I hope you have a great day. I know I'm going to. Now I'm going to get back to our group who is here in our Zoom meeting, and we'll have a conversation about this. If you'd like to join us, let me know by writing me at agingpowerfully.with.Nan, agingpowerfully.with.Nan@gmail.com. And I'll get the invitation to you. Bye-bye.